talking about the anatomy of contemporary happiness. And in today's podcast, we're going to discuss the toxic trait of using your problems to get attention. Attention is one of the most important commodities for the human experience. Humans are one of the most social animals on the planet, and attention from other animals is tremendously desired. It is baked within us. It is wired into the human genome, and attention is the top commodity. And I think you should realize that in terms of something that you personally crave and an asset that you have that you can give to others, attention. So it is okay to crave attention. It is okay to want attention. It is okay to do things to get attention. Okay. However, when you use your problems to get attention, it creates a very toxic cycle. And we're going to discuss that. So first of all, what happens naturally in kind of everyday life is that if you kind of bring up a problem around your friends or your loved ones or your family or anybody else in your life, you raise some kind of problem, then the natural instinct is for them to give you attention. Okay. The natural instinct is to kind of try to sympathize with you, empathize with you, give you tips on how to solve that problem. No matter what happens, you are now getting attention from whoever it is that you started talking about your problem to. Okay. Now, and they try to comfort you. And this kind of creates a toxic cycle where you learn that discussing your problems will give you attention. Okay. And it is terrible for you because what happens as a natural result of that is that you go about your day looking for problems. You go about your day rather than feeling gratitude and being grateful for the various types of blessings that you have throughout your day. You start looking for problems. You start noting mentally what the problems are, what kind of problems happened to you today. Things like, let's say there was a lot of traffic, for example. Let's say your favorite parking spot was taken. Let's say, for example, you wanted to get a sandwich for lunch and they were out of sandwiches, so you had to get a pizza, for example. Whatever type of big or small problem that you have, you essentially train yourself to start looking for the problems and highlighting those problems, because each problem for you is now an asset to grab attention. Right? And again, attention is good. Wanting attention is good too. Using problems to get attention is toxic. Okay. So what this essentially leads to one level further, when you start to kind of use your problems to get attention, what you end up doing is essentially leads to self-sabotage. You start to actually sabotage certain elements of your life just so you can complain about them. Just so that you can get attention by others by way of discussing your catastrophe and what happened to you. One of the kind of trigger phrases here is, you'll never believe what happened to me today. You'll never believe what happened to me today. Or other people that just kind of wear some type of trauma on kind of like a badge of honor, and they just kind of just come at you. They just kind of discuss that all the time. And it lets their problems define them. So essentially, like I said, what this does, once you start using problems as a commodity, as a way to get the commodity of attention, is that it leads to self-sabotage. So you absolutely want to stop this if you're doing it yourself. So the next question here is, how did this behavior evolve? And what can you do right now to stop this from happening to, let's say your children, for example, right? And how to not train your children to use problems and mischief as a ways of getting attention, okay? So imagine, for example, that you have a 3-year-old child sitting in the living room playing with their toys, right? And then you have a parent that's sitting and they're in the living room watching television, okay? And observing the child kind of passively, but watching TV, okay? Like most parents do. Now, imagine if this child begins to kind of engage in something that they're not supposed to do. Let's say playing with an electric socket, or, handling a big jug of water, or spilling something, or something that they're not supposed to, some kind of mischief, right? Some kind of troublemaking that the child now turns their attention to rather than just quietly playing with their toys. And then what happens is that the mother immediately reacts to that. The mother will immediately kind of say like, oh my God, stop doing that, right? Or try to like kind of save the child from that kind of sad catastrophe or troublemaking that they're doing, right? And this could be, and this is very useful. And this is a very, very good thing. And the mother should be alert, and the mother should be kind of aware of what the child is doing. And if the child's doing something bad, the mother should absolutely step in and, try to prevent that as much as they can. So there's nothing wrong with this. What the problem is that from the child's perspective, it learns that doing mischief results in getting the mother's attention, right? Engaging in troublemaking results in getting the mother's attention. So how do you offset this? And the way you offset this is by giving your child attention when they're not doing something bad. Okay, by praising your child for the little things that they're doing correctly, like cleaning up their toys, brushing their teeth, whatever kind of good, the smallest good thing that they're doing, you want to treat it like they just cured cancer, essentially. And this is how you raise a person so that they don't use their kind of problems as a ways of getting attention, which essentially leads to self-sabotage. This is how you raise a child that learns that they can get praise and attention from doing good things. And it's very, very important here. So this is kind of, the central premise here of this video, which is the learned behavior of using problems to get attention in some adults, and the maybe unintentional, pattern that's being instilled in children when they only get attention when they're doing something bad, okay? And the way to offset that by praising children and celebrating them, giving them attention when they're doing something good. Okay. And if you're an adult that is using your problems right now as a means of getting attention, and you find yourself kind of going through this, right? I encourage you to read chapters 1 and 2 of Good Problems to Have, where you can get a fresh perspective on problems and what an asset they are instead of a liability, and celebrate your problems and keep your problems to yourself unless you need actual advice. And that's another part of this video, which is that if you actually want advice and you want to talk about your problems to somebody to get advice, there's nothing wrong with that, right? And even sometimes you just want to talk about your problems just to vent, and that's totally fine too. Okay, but I'm talking about a long-term pattern of using problems as a commodity to get attention. That is tremendously toxic, and I encourage you to watch out for that in your relationships, and stay away from anybody that is kind of on this pattern of using problems and catastrophe as a means of getting attention. This is David Nima, happiness coach. Make sure to check out GPH Lifestyle on YouTube and Instagram, and I will see you guys on the next video.